Hello, welcome back to the demo studio for another Raise3D live stream. As always, my name is Nick, happy to have you. Today for this stream, we're gonna be doing a lot of things in RaiseCloud. There's a lot that we can do with RaiseCloud. I know on the surface it's just kind of, push jobs and remotely operate machines, but there's a lot more that we can get into, so I'll be going into that. I do have with me a Pro 2 Plus, so I'll be starting a print job on that. I wanna go ahead and we'll jump into the cloud interface real quick. It's just going to be cloud.raise3d.com. We can go ahead and make an account or a team. So you can have multiple people in a team, and then everyone who would be able to log into that team can have access to machines. What we want to look at is team information. So we'll have like the team name here, the type of team we're running, binding the account, and then the number of members. So if we wanted to add more people, I can go ahead and just invite them. We'll send emails out, and those will have links. So if they already have an account, we can just invite their account. Or if they don't have one yet, they can log in and then make one. For adding machines to the account, we want to go ahead and go to add a printer. Now we have the options for adding in Raise3D machines and non-Raise3D machines. If you are using a non-Raise3D printer, the best way to get it into the same RaiseCloud ecosystem, there is a plugin for Octopi. So if you are running Octopi on a machine, you can add in the plugin for RaiseCloud, but we'll go with the Raise3D one. You always want to make sure that you're on the most up-to-date version of the RaiseTouch firmware. Then it asks for the method of binding. Binding with the RaiseCloud app is just going to have a QR code scan through the app interface, and then it should bind automatically that way because you just log into the app. So it already has the account info. Binding with a binding key, you would download that and then plug the USB drive with that file into the machine, and then go through the menus and bind through there. And then the account and password is you just log into the RaiseCloud account directly on the machine itself, and that has an option for that. Just going into the next, it'll then continue you through the steps. So for the binding key one, it gives us our key file, and then it opens up the rest of the instructions on exactly where to find the options to bind with the binding key on the touchscreen itself. So once we finish any of those binding processes, then that machine should show up in our printer's dashboard here. So just going through the top, we have the main dashboard, which gives us a quick glance of all of the machines that are running and what state they're in, and then our quick report for the filament usage. This also records for each type of material how much it's used over time for all of its machines. The jobs that are running, when we tell that machine to print a G-code, that's then registered as a job. And then 3D printers up at the top. So this is just a quick menu, basically to see all the machines that are connected, what state they're in. We have a couple here. I've got 2 Pro 2 Pluses off to the side. I'm going to be working with a demo machine. That is the Pro 2 Plus that is directly behind me. And then there is another one that is actually currently printing right now. So we can see them all in the different states. And then if I am going to, for example, start a print job, it'll change that state, receive job. So whenever a part finishes, it does completely lock the touchscreen and wait for a user to confirm that it is ready to accept the next task, and that it should go ahead and just pull that next one. We just don't want there to be any risk of it running a new job before our current job has been removed. So that's why there's that. For actually getting these jobs started, I do have all my machines connected already, and then I have a number of files that I already have ready to go directly in Cloud. So these have been sliced in Idea Maker beforehand. I just slice the G-codes and then either save them to my hard drive and upload them later, or I can upload them directly to the cloud storage from Idea Maker. But in order to add in a new job, I can just click New in the upper left, upload a new file, and then that will add that G-code into the rest of my files list here. I do have individual files, that will be my files, and then team files. So if I am working with multiple users, the team files will be shared across the entire account. I'm going to be working with the PLA white pipe, choosing print, and then once I have the printer list here, so I have the job selected, we have all the options for sorting what types of printers we want to run. So for example, if I wanted to have a setup for PLA and ABS parts, It is possible to tell the machines what they are loaded with. That is told on the touchscreen itself. It runs off of the filament profiles in there. So when you are loading in the different type of material, you just make sure that that's accurate and let that know what profile it's running, and then it'll show up to change here. So with those filaments loaded, I would be able to know when I am pushing a job that I would be able to tag and change and look at different file types and just be able to sort or look at the different groups of machines. So if I wanted to just run all the ABS prints, I can just pull up those machines. But since I don't have mine organized right now, I'm just going to go ahead and push those to our first two and then start that print. In order to have that job start running, I currently just have it in our queue here. I would first go ahead and tell that machine to receive the job. It's then going to pull the task from cloud and then automatically start that. But yeah, that's, again, really quick. I can do that from pretty much anywhere that I have a network connection. And that's going to be really good for a lot of these things. Like I know everyone's kind of working from home or trying to be more spaced out. Or just if you're working with companies that have multiple locations or are worldwide, we have a couple things like that as well. We have multiple offices ourselves, but being able to just kind of push those jobs, it looks like that is receiving it now. But yeah, being able to just push jobs from wherever you are, if you're constantly on, just maximum upkeep trying to produce parts, having that queue in there is really, really useful. And there you go. So now it is running. Back in the dashboard. So I usually just jump back to the dashboard as a kind of a quick glance to go through printers and files. And then one thing that I wanted to spend a bit of time on is getting into the work orders and customizing the work orders through cloud as well. If I make a new work order, it's going to bring up essentially a field to fill out. This doesn't need to be done for any job, but it's a really useful tool to accompany along whatever is printed and track it through the larger production of whatever you're running. And then more importantly, we want to go with a form template. I still have just the default one in here, but these can be customized. So I'll get into customizing one a little bit later. But the form template basically just lays out all of the information that we would want for any given work order. And I don't need to fill everything in here individually in a work order detail. I can just follow these formats. So if you're looking at having print done today, we want one print done out of a PLA material, the right material type, details of slicing, 0.1 millimeters, and then the number here as well, just as a default. We already have the number of prints here, so we'll leave that. So I do need to also choose an operator. So since I'm working with one user, we'll just have that as the operator. If we have multiple users, we can designate specifically who is in charge of this work order, or at least who created it from the very beginning. And then the visibilities for individual work orders, we can have it just be only visible to the people who are involved, or have it visible for everyone. So an entire team could see it if they wanted to. But now that I have that created, it is in the rest of our work order list. Reopening this work order just lays out all the details here. I can still edit these because it is my work order. So we have our status for the approval, decline, printing, and putting it on hold. If for whatever I need to say wait on this machine or wait on this print, I have other ones in the queue, I can put that one on hold. When I submit it, it then changes the state, and then we go from our awaiting approval stage into an on hold stage. And then from there, I can actually still move it back into printing or approval. There's a little bit of a hierarchy or a flow of how these documents are run through cloud. But now that we're done with the hold, you can go to approval. It's been approved, so you can move it through that stage. Then I'll move it through to printing. And then after it's done printing, we can move it into our completed. And then that is going to fully finish out the work order and just leave it at its completed state. That was kind of a basic rundown of the really, really simple work order. Getting into work order settings will allow you to customize all these other systems. So we're looking at the ID generation rules. It'll either work off of just creating the order and then a day number, whatever it was. We can keep it the same exact as the title or have that other menu bar. I'm gonna go ahead and have this set to generate on these default rules. And then for the actual workflow, we'll add that after creating a template. So we'll go to add templates here. Now that I'm working with a new template, we can call this props. and we want to enable this template. The individual things that I would need, we would want, say, like a date of where it is. The radio group allows me to select just one option at a time. So if we wanted to go with like the types of materials, then I would go ahead and go through here. We can say that it's an ABS part, or a PLA part, or a PETG. So we just have those options to be our materials. And then closing that back up has the material list, and then of course the individual material selections here. Our print time. So for just something quick like this, if I want kind of an at-a-glance estimate of how long it was going to be, this will be our print time estimate in hours. And then it's just asking for a value. We won't have the min or the max of the steps here, so I should just be able to tell it. The print's gonna be roughly 15 hours for when I'm filling in a work order. Checkboxes having multiple options, whether or not it needs to be in a couple stages. For a checkbox group, this can be things like the post-processing. So if I wanted to add in multiple other options, we can do things like I would want this to be sanded, any kind of paint coating, and then we'll do like a clear coat on them. Fully customizable for whatever you would actually need specific to how you are making these work orders. Save that, I have my new template, and then the workflow. So adding in the new flow template, like we saw before, moving it from the stages of on hold to during the approval process to printing to completed, we're basically remaking that structure. So we want to go for the flow, we'll keep that also for props. And then we'll start with an empty workflow. I know the template workflow still has, basically you would see the on hold and the paused ones. We'll just start from a brand new one. So the first one, we'll have this be, they have a lot of the suggestions in here. We'll keep it in, say, yeah, we'll do the planning phase. So these are in planning. Then from the other phase, we would maybe want to just go straight into printing. And then save and next. So we're actually moving on to how these things would flow together one to the other. So if we're going from the planning phase, we can go into printing. Once it's printing, it should end there. I think I actually want to go back again and add in a couple more things into that flow here. So we have all of the flow name and then the actual stages. We make all the stages first, then arrange the flow. And then we'll go for, we want to include another one. So we'll make a new option. And then we can, of course, change the name for whatever this should be. This will be our sanding. Add that phase in. And then we want to have the completed here. And then this needs to be the end phase. So we will specify where the flow will end. And then that's just going to complete all the work orders. So the planning phase will be able to flow into these other ones. From printing, should be able to flow into sanding, and then I believe sanding should be able to flow into the completed. So yeah, you'll see basically how that flow rate is going to work out, and how the work order is going to progress across the multiple stages. So now we should have our new work order here. This one can be our prop. Work order detail is going to be a print, and then I can go ahead and choose our new template. Add in the type of material, estimate the number of hours, the date field for exactly when this is being processed, and then of course the other options I want for the end of that. Changing our operator, saving again, and now we have our new order going into the rest of the flow that's up here. Of course, we do need to change our operator for that phase. So of course it can be pushed through all the multiple stages. Going back to the dashboard, we do have a whole tab for reporting, and then this is also able to track not just the printer statistics, but work orders as well. So if you wanted to look at, say, the completion rate for work orders, that's all going to basically give a report here. I don't work too much off of the work orders, as you can tell. But again, the cloud is able to generate the reports for what has been produced, how long the jobs have been taking, and and everything else through here. And then let's see. If there are any particular questions on anything on cloud as well, I can go a little bit more into the specifics. But that's, again, really simple. I do have our PLA print running here, so we should be able to get that camera preview back in here again, reconnected. So we do have that camera preview up, that print is running. If I wanted to go ahead and pause and stop or resume, I can go ahead and do that through here. Really, we can do anything in cloud on the machine that we would be able to do from the touchscreen. Do everything through cloud except for like reloading more material and removing the parts. So if I needed to reload that in, I would do that. Then I can come back here and either restart it from the machine or just have it resume through cloud. I do that a lot usually when we're kind of working from home. If I can't get into the office, I'll just have somebody come in, reload a print with material for me because I know that that's pretty simple, and then I can just basically resume it on my own time when I'm ready to have that part moving again. They don't need to sit there and wait for things to go, and I can monitor it on my own. Yeah, so I think that is going to do it for today. Just a quick rundown on cloud. That's going to do it for the stream today. I want to thank everyone for joining me. Looking forward to seeing the next one. Have a good one.